Get ready to feel
the power.
That's Colin Crandall, myself, Adam Rorda, with another episode of MMA Power Hour coming at you this week. We have many seasons here. I believe we're on the 11th season. Is that right, Colin?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, we're on the 16th episode right now, and really kicking. We've been kicking for a long time now, right? About, what is it, 6 years?
Yeah, it's coming up. March will be 6 years, so we're about 5 months shy of 6 years.
Wow. Now, how many people can say that they've done that other than a select few? There's probably one handful of people, and
yeah,
that's it.
Not many. It seems like it's, it just seems like people will try something for a year, maybe 8 months, and some maybe a couple years. But yeah, we're determined, and I think that like a lot of times we let people know, if you want to support us, that would be great, with any donation or sponsorship, whatever. And I think that some people think, well, these guys are making a lot of money anyway just by being whatever, but we're not really. It's a struggle, and that's why a lot of people, I think, don't last a lot of years. Not only that, a lot of people don't keep watching them, but we're trying really hard, but we're shoestring budget, usually less than that, as sponsoring ourselves. And so if anyone does want to help out, let us know. Just hit us up, and you want to say, here's 10 bucks.
Shares are a good way to tip us too. Share. If you share everywhere that you see us, hear us, make sure to share on that platform appropriately. Love seeing new faces, old faces. You guys are amazing, popping in the chat. Thank you so much for that. Likes, comments, shares. Every episode is brought to you by Lith Token and Cross Trained MMA Fighter. Like Colin said, we sponsor ourselves, and that's because we have outside work. Lith Token happens to be the new standard for environmental social governance, and out there everybody's politicizing it, making it all the BS on the planet. And Colin, we were just talking about it before the show. Yep. Really what we're doing is we're taking the government out of it and making it done right through voluntarism and appropriate measures. Most people want a cleaner world. I think we know that, regardless whether you believe in climate change, global warming, all of that or not. But you go to Los Angeles, you go to basically all the big cities across the globe. Obviously, we need to clean up. So let's clean our act up together. Go on over to lithtoken.io and check it out. We're doing some cool things. And for those of you who don't care about any of the environmental stuff, we do have some cool authentication with physical NFTs. Brand new thing coming out. In fact, it's all the rage right now in the NFT space for the next movement that's going to be happening. And it is kind of insane that I own a patent that makes it the first true physical NFT.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Adam is doing amazing stuff here. So guys, get while the getting's good on the ground floor. This project is absolutely lit because it's lit X, and that's no cap. As my
he says no cap. Oh, and you guys can barely see it. I have to point something out. So before the show, Colin's like, well, should I shave real quick and maybe be a few minutes late, or should I show up on time? And my thought was, I need a cigarette. And the first thing going through my mind is, man, if he shows up a few minutes late, that gives me the time for my stupid cigarette that I should quit.
Right.
And I'm
we didn't
thinking,
want that, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, nah, just come on over. And,
yep.
I was actually thinking this will help me not have a cigarette, Colin.
I appreciate that. I'm glad.
But then you showed up and you were so clean shaven in comparison to what I thought you were talking about. You're like, this is my lumberjack beard.
Yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Look at me.
3 days of growth.
Look at me.
Yep, I know you. That's the lumberjack look. You had that look there, 100%.
I've had it for a while. It's the lion's mane. If I don't have it, something's not right.
Exactly. But the good thing is you still got that dark hair. For me, it gets to be like salt and pepper, which after a few days of growth doesn't look that great.
Do you not see the salt and pepper on?
Yeah, I guess you have a little bit there. You have 80% pepper and 20% salt, whereas I think my beard is 80% salt.
It's more like 70-30 now.
Right.
Each day that passes running a company in the cryptocurrency space during a crypto winter, I believe.
Yep.
Believe me, I get at least 50 new gray hairs a day.
I hear you. And that's no cap, as the Gen Z says. Anyway, enough of that cap crap. We have an amazing show here. Dr. Adam Rorda, you're doing amazing stuff. Lith Token, go to litx.com and ask Adam, and we got a great show here where we're going to be
packed full of Chris's.
Yes, we're going to be asking Chris. And I think, what this is kind of maybe reminiscent of for those people of the Christian faith. Asking Christ is what you're doing, asking Jesus. Well, we don't have...
What would Chris do today? It's not Christ, it's Chris.
Yeah, we can't expect Jesus to come on our show, but we have 3 Chris's. So it's going to be Ask Chris. And these are all good men, and they will be giving an amazing opinion. And one thing I will say for sure
I'm Jewish. I'm the NFT.
There you go.
So.
That's nifty. That's a nifty thing. But the one thing I can say for sure is
guys, don't cancel me over that.
No cancel. The one thing I can say is that you've all listened throughout part of this weekend last week on other shows' opinions and other people's opinions on what's going to happen on a couple of the fights or the main event or maybe the main card. That's all right. But when you finish watching this show, you will have a better idea which way to bet, which way to lean, and what's going to happen compared to any other show that you've seen or that will be coming on after. This is the time. This is the place for you guys to tune in and watch all 3 segments.
I'll tell you this: if you dig deep after you pay attention to what Colin and I say, if we are split on what we're going with on the pick, just dig deep. And if you find what we're saying to be right from anybody else, I will tell you.
Right.
I will tell you it's because that person is right on the decision, and we call it like down to the round, and whether it's knockout. So just be careful, because we do go against each other sometimes, and do your own research. We're not telling you to bet, but at the same time, if you bet, hey, I do it. Colin does it. We hold nothing against you. That's why we go over these odds. Yeah. Now everybody that's on our social medias here, that's on Facebook, MMA Power Hour, or the MMA Power Hour
the
group.
Hannibal TV. Yep.
Jump on over to the Hannibal TV, and YouTube actually is the place to do it if you really want to show support. Step A is share the YouTube link to the Hannibal TV. That is MMA Power Hour.
Yep.
Do that. And step B is watch on the Hannibal TV.
Absolutely. Do that, please. Okay, we have a little bit of an issue here. Dr. Adamoro, first let me say hi to Mark and Ralph. What's happening, guys? Glad you're here. Our first guest is caught out of the country and thought he would be back and able to do the show at this time spot right now. And he isn't. He's asking if we can somehow switch him to the later time spot. So,
I mean, that's up to your last person.
Guess. Yeah. So first, let me check and see if he's saying he could be ready then in an hour and a half. Gotcha. Could you be ready in less than an hour and a half from now, or what's the soonest you can be ready? Because we're off the air in less than 2 hours. Question mark. So basically, we're going to do some live TV juggling, as is sometimes the case.
That's a bummer, because we really want to chat with this man.
We really did. Okay, so...
Well, I do know our second guest is going to be ready to go. On time. I'm not sure, but that if Chris Lytle can only be the third guest, maybe we're needing to check with our third guest to see if he can. Oh no, you need to check with him. I'm saying I do know that we have Chris Brennan coming up on second. He already confirmed with me.
Yeah, we know. Both
right
the other
now.
guys. Yeah, everyone confirmed in the last several days, but then today the 2 other guests did confirm, and Chris Lytle didn't. But Chris is so reliable, I wasn't worried about that. But now it turns out the reason he didn't, because he's out of town. Okay, so it sounds like, though, the last spot you could do, which is going to be 7:25 or 7:30 Pacific time. So I'm going to assume that, and I'll check and see if we can have the other guests switch. And I'll let you know, period. Okay.
You know, Colin, I have to tell you a funny little story. So I'm setting up all my production gear here earlier tonight.
Right.
And more this afternoon. I was setting up my production gear, and I'm sitting here trying to figure out, after updating all my software, why one of the cameras wasn't showing, and it was your camera. And I'm thinking, holy shit, I went out and bought this nice camera for all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And now there's an update in the software that I use, and for some reason I'm not going to be able to use it anymore. I was raging mad, and I was trying to figure everything out, turning my camera on and off and going in, and finally I decided to get down on my hands and knees and look at the floor and see that the cable was unplugged.
Oh man.
They always and as a technical person, they always tell you, always check the cables first, because it's always that. And sure enough, that's what it was.
And it turns out to be a relief, but then you're like saying, why didn't I just go check that first? Yep, I know that feeling.
It's like I would have been okay had I just looked, but no, I was all angry. But everybody, Bobo's Bowie is coming in and saying, I wish you guys would put the guests in the title instead of making it a surprise. Well, you know, we would rather keep it a surprise here ourselves.
Well, but I posted it. I posted all 3 guests on my Colin Crandall page and on the MMA Power Hour group. So the key for you, Baba Booey, is you got to look in the right place, and you'll absolutely see where the guests are. Yep. We love you though, Baba Booey, as Howard always say. Baba Booey.
Baba Booey, I love
Baba
that.
Booey.
I love that name.
Yep.
Hello, JM. Thanks for jumping in. We'll be here going over a few things. We're trying to switch a couple guests here. We're seeing if we can make it happen. Did you get the other message off to that last guest?
Yes, I did just about 1 minute ago.
Okay.
So
yeah, people have busy lives, so we'll see.
Okay, so let's pull up. Let's pull up while we're doing this, because you and me, people like to hear.
We got an amazing fight on the 22nd. That's all I know.
It's absolutely. This is one of the sickest, most stacked cards there is out there, and there's nothing more I can say. But if you're gonna pay for one pay-per-view event,
there's nothing else I can say, guys. Let's wrap up. We're calling it a night.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
No, we're not.
But yeah, no, not
we're
that.
Good.
But this is the card. This is the card. Now you're gonna have to get up early if you want to watch it live. Although if you have ESPN Plus for streaming, as most people have that are watching it, you can always watch it anytime you want after the fact, assuming you purchase the pay-per-view. But being that it's going to be live from Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates, the main card is going to start at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. East Coast time. So that would mean that the prelims are probably going to be 3 hours before that, which will be 8 in the morning Pacific and 11 in the morning East Coast time. So it's way earlier than usual,
right?
And but it's going to be worth it.
I'm going to go grab lunch over at Finney's over here in Burbank and have a good time with that. That's my favorite place to watch fights. It's perfect time for that. Just go grab lunch, have a beer, and have some hot wings.
They do have all the UFC pay-per-views pretty much, don't they?
Yeah, for the most part.
Sweet. Okay, so while we're waiting to hear back,
let's just go over these fights. I mean, come on, this is such a stacked card.
It's incredible. Okay, so starting from the bottom, we may skip a few for us and some.
I don't know, because this card really is so good. There's not really many to skip over.
Well, there are a few kind of. So the first card of the night, Lena Landsberg, good-looking Swedish girl, but she's almost 40 years old. She's at the tail end of her career. She's only like 1-3 in her last 4 fights. She's pretty much set up to lose here to Carol Hossa, who's very tough. Hossa did just lose, though, didn't she? Hossa did just lose to
Sarah McMahon.
Sarah McMahon, our friend. Sarah
no
McMahon.
shame in that either. So,
and there's no shame because Sarah was on in that fight, and Hossa was still in that fight. But Lena Landsberg is no Sarah McMahon. This fight, I think, is pretty easy. Carol Hossa, but I think you can't make much money on it. But Lena is tough. She's one of the tougher, better-looking girls. That's really cute but really tough. Okay, next fight is this man. Wow, this is the man on the left. 21 years old, but he's got like 25 fights, including pro and amateur, and he's won every single one of them.
I know.
Now,
this dude
he's a killer. Only 2 of them in the UFC.
Man.
Yeah, he's scary. This guy at 21. But I tell you what, a lot of times you get a firecracker like that comes in so young. A lot of times they fizzle out by the time they're in their mid-late 20s. Or they have to basically lose, go fight in a lower league, and then come back up. You never know, though. This guy may be the exception. He's obviously a guy from the Eastern Bloc, training out of England, and a very tough guy. Malcolm Gordon is a tough dude, though, and he's going to give it a shot. Let's see what Malcolm's done recently. Malcolm X Gordon. How about that? You have to love that. So Malcolm X is on a 2-fight win streak, but he's only 2-2 in the UFC. He did lose to Amir Albazi and Sue Muderji. No shame in that. Then he did beat Figueiredo, the elder Figgy's brother, not the champion, but Francisco Figueiredo, and then he beat Denis Bondar. The odds are probably still going to be like 5-1 Mokaev. Let's take a look.
I would think so. Let's go in here and see.
Or even longer than that. Wow.
Yeah.
Minus 1,000.
And I think they have it right. I think they do. At the same time, like you said, that adrenaline dump for a first UFC fight is going to be a...
Well, but it's not his first UFC fight. It isn't. He's had 2.
He has had 2, but okay,
but
so
he's young. He's really young.
And that adrenaline dump may still hit, but let's see.
Good. But you know what? I tell you what, though, you never really want to lay minus 1,000 because of the risk factor. If you have a lot of money and you're betting like $10,000, which is a drop in the bucket, nothing to you, then go ahead. You can put 10,000 on Mokaev to win $1,000, but it's not that smart on sports betting. However, betting the plus money on Malcolm Gordon, probably you're flushing your money down the toilet, but at least you get some odds. You bet if you bet bet $33 to win, or no, bet $15 to win 100. You know,
I'm not doing it. Not doing it. Not that fight. That's not the right fight to do it.
Yeah, no, probably not. Probably not. Although you never know. Okay, so let me see.
Yeah, you never know. But you know.
Yeah. Okay. So, yep. Okay. So our third guest is saying he could be ready at 6:30, but then that's not going to give enough.
Check
time.
see if Brennan's ready to hop on right now.
Okay.
Let's do it. Let's see.
Well, but then. Okay, I see what you're saying. So then we just reverse those two and maybe have the last spot for Chris Lytle.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. Okay, let me check and I'll get right back to you. Period.
He's on right now. Just let me ask him. I'll ask him.
Okay, yeah. Ask if he could. Apologize for asking, but see if there's any way he could be ready right away.
Keep going, Colin.
Okay, all right. And as we're going to keep going, if he's gonna be ready right away, then we'll have Chris Brown not at 30, but at like 45. I'll get back to you in a couple minutes, but we wouldn't need you at 30 then. It'd be like about a half hour from now. Period. I'll get right back to you though as soon as I find out in a couple minutes. Okay, so as Adam is doing that with our second guest, this is the guest that was third. Let me see here.
Oh, here we are having the fun, just jumbling around, Colin, man.
And forgive us for looking like jackasses, but it's tough. You know, we're expecting all three guests, and no hate on any of our guests. We've had all these guests numerous times. Nothing but respect. They always show up, and just something happened where Chris Lytle was caught out of the country and unexpectedly, but he wants to still come in an hour, but we've got to coordinate it. Anyway, so we're going to find out what's going on. But so anyway, if you want to put back up best fight odds, yeah, probably Mokaev does not have too much trouble with Malcolm Gordon, but you never know.
Let's go back to the list and make sure we're going up the fight order the right way.
Right order?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so next up after that, after Mokaev and Gordon, there is going to be, wow, this card is so stacked. The Armenian, Armen Petrosyan, very tough guy against AJ Dobson. I'm not that familiar with AJ Dobson. I don't think too many people are. Armen Petrosyan is a tough, big kid. I think he probably wins, but in all honesty, I'm not that familiar with Dobson. I don't want to take the time to do that right now. All respect to AJ Dobson. So let's jump up to Abubakar Nurmagomedov, who I believe is a cousin of Habib, and he is going up against another Eastern Bloc guy, Gadzi Omar Gadziev. That's interesting. He's got Gadzi in his first name and Gadzi in his last name also. But I guess there's people whose name are, Jon Johnson or Pete Peterson or whatever. So Gadzi Omar Gadziev against Abubakar Nurmagomedov. I think Nurmagomedov wins that. And I think he's probably somewhat of a substantial favorite. You want to look real quick at the fight odds on the Nurmagomedov and Omar Gadziev fight?
Yeah, well, hey, I just got something back saying that he's just asking if he can be sort of eating. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
So used to it.
Without a doubt. Anyway, don't worry about the odds on the Nurmagomedov Omar Gadziev. I'm going to go Nurmagomedov. Then we have another, I think there's a few guys from AKA. Javier Mendez has got probably 4 or 5 guys on this card. So we have Zubaira Tukakov against Lucas Almeida, and I think Zubaira wins that. I think there's going to be a lot of these Dagestani Muslim guys that win in a really friendly venue in United Arab Emirates, where it's a majority Muslim. So I think they're going to be cheering like crazy for these guys, and these guys are killers anyway. So I think that if they don't stop you, you're probably going to have to really beat them to get the decision over there, because those guys are super popular,
right,
which is understandable. But anyway, so Gadziev, Abubakar Nurmagomedov, only a slight favorite over Gadziev. Yeah. And then Tukakov is only a slight favorite over Almeida. So these are some good bets. I think these AKA guys are killers, and I think you're pretty much having a home cage situation where people cheering like crazy for you, and that can affect the judges. So I definitely like Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov, and I like Zubaira Tukhugov. All right, going up from there, we have an interesting fight between two UFC veterans, Nikita Krylov and Volkan Oezdemir. Both guys seem to win and lose, maybe win a couple, lose a couple. So this is an important fight for both of them. I know that Volkan Oezdemir showed up and looked really good in his last fight, beating Paul Craig. Krylov has looked pretty good. I'm leaning Oezdemir, and he's the dog, but it's so tough, Adam. I hate to bet on guys that win one, lose one.
I'm going with Oezdemir on this one. I really am. I think he's got this one.
Yeah, the way he looked against Craig.
We have our guest ready. Let's go ahead and go into this.
Okay, so I'm going to tell our other guest, then it can be 45. Give me about 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. We can start with you in about 23 minutes at 7:45 p.m. New Mexico time. Appreciate it a lot. We'll Skype call you then, period. Okay, whenever you're ready.
All right, let's go into it. Skype dance coming. Skype dance. Hope you're dancing with us.
Dance away. Hey, Chris, can you hear me?
Can you see me?
Beautiful. I got you. And thank you so much for jumping on. Feel free to enjoy dinner. I really appreciate it, ladies and gentlemen. We are asking a big favor of our guest, Chris Brennan, which is why he's eating. We've asked him to come a half hour early in light of the scheduling issues we're having. So that is what's going on here. We really appreciate you, Chris Brennan. Let me give you a proper introduction, ladies and gentlemen. This man is one of the pioneers in MMA. This guy jumped into MMA back when there wasn't promise of a lot of fame or fortune, back when most people didn't know what the sport was. We're talking 1996, and I just looked on SureDog to see that, Chris. And so these were the days where the Generation X guys that had a lot of courage and a lot of balls to go into a fight in a sport that was no holds barred fighting. This man is a numerous time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion, father of the Bellator featherweight sensation Lucas Brennan. We're talking about Chris, the Westside Strangler Brennan. Welcome back to the show, Chris. So I was just thinking, no problem. I was just thinking that you were pretty much among the first crop of guys that were not heavyweights that jumped into MMA. And it's funny because I remember back in those days, and we're pretty darn close to the same age, I had just had a really bad arm injury, and I was in martial arts, but I had my eyes on a bunch of other stuff, doing media and commentary, and I never, fancied myself the greatest athlete or fighter in the world. So I wasn't really serious like you were, being an average sized guy, about jumping into MMA. But I was thinking, I was like, damn, if I could maybe just see a couple years where they did have welterweight, and guys my size in there, maybe if I could do it, if I could think about it, if I could figure something out. And in reality, that didn't happen, and I'm probably lucky for me that it didn't. But what made you be one of the first crop of guys that weren't heavyweights that decided to jump in there? Because it looked like it was all heavyweight there.
UFC 1, we were watching UFC 1 on TV at a bar that I was bouncing at with Todd Medina, and Chemo bounced at another bar right around the corner. And Chemo got in by UFC 3. Todd got in by 5. I didn't get in till 16, but I was trying. I was literally trying from UFC 3 on to get in. I was bigger. I was bodybuilding, right? I just stopped bodybuilding and started training. And I went from 220 to about 180 in my first year of training. So I was trying to get in, but they wouldn't, I couldn't get in for whatever reason. And then I was small. And then by the time the first lightweight tournament came around, which is welterweight now, the first lightweight tournament came around, I got invited into that. And I had already had, I think, 4 or 5 fights by that point, but I was trying to get in before I had any fights.
Nice. We just had a good comment by one of our fans who just listed me as the 1997 welterweight UFC champion. Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Only in my dreams. Only in my dreams, maybe
Nice.
if it comes around. But that's cool to know, man. And so I guess that in essence, if need be, you would have been willing to fight at heavyweight had they been willing to bring you in.
I mean, yeah, there was no weight, right? It was just one weight class.
Right, that's right.
When it first split, it split to 200 and over, 200 and under, and that's where Frank Shamrock was. And then they added in the 170 after that. But the whole first, all the way, I forget when they added in the 200 up and 200 and under, but it was pretty deep in. And so before that, it was just one weight class. There was really no weight class.
I remember that, and I remember those early days. They did have some smaller guys that were average size guys, and that did well. But then it was obvious when the skill set came in, that there needed to be a little bit of consideration. Like I remember that really good striker. I think the guy was from Africa or something. There was like a Thai boxer, weighed like 165, and he went up against what's that?
Orlando
Veit. Yes, Orlando Veit. Right. Yep, against Remco Pardul, and then Pardul got him in that in like I forget, in wrestling, you'd know better than me, but got him in like a little bit of a headlock position. It just kind of had him under his body, and remember the commentator what's that?
He was dropping elbows on his head.
Yeah, the commentator kept saying, "This is not a problem for Orlando. Orlando's going to get out of this any second and reverse him," right? And it kind of made a statement there that not good if you're giving away 100 pounds and you don't have a lot of ground skills. Pretty dangerous, actually, and I think maybe they saw that and didn't really want to repeat that. But you had ground skills, so that wouldn't have been you. But nevertheless, so that first lightweight tournament,
that's all I had.
Yeah, I remember. That's right. That was it. Yeah, and then I remember Jens Pulver was there and some other guys, and you came in, and it was an amazing time, because those times I remember it was banned on pay-per-view. A lot of people don't know it was banned on pay-per-view for about 3 or 4 years. Matthew Granahan, my good friend, just jumped in and said you had a great DVD instructional during that era. Tell us about that. What was that? Do you remember that? What was that called?
The DVDs?
Yeah.
So I first had a set that I did with Island Videos, and they were pretty good. It was like an 8-pack set, I think, of a lot of them. And then I did 4 later with Budo Videos, my King of the Kimura, my guard passing one, sweeps one, and then 10-finger guillotine one. And those 4 did really well. I've actually been contacting BJJ Fanatics to do another set, or at least 2. I've got 2 that I really want to do right now.
Nice. That'd be awesome, because you definitely are an innovative BJJ black belt and teacher, and you put some great stuff out there. I noticed that is really effective, and so I think people would look forward to that. Anyway, let's jump into the UFC card here, man. This is such a sick card. This is so great. I'm so excited about this card. I know you fought mostly at 155, but a little bit at 170, right?
Other way around. More at 170 and only five, I think, maybe 5 or 6 at 155. The rest is all at 70, and even 2 at 85.
Nice. Okay. So a lot of the fights Saturday night are right in your wheelhouse. I know probably a lot of these fighters, and let's jump into it. I want to do one prelim card, and then I want to do the main card. And I know usually I have like maybe a little bit more back and forth, but we're actually doing 3 segments that we're going to have our guests go over this. So I want you guys to be much more the star of the segment here than me. So I'm going to let you do most of the talking, but whenever you're done, I'll be able to jump in, as you know, but maybe give me like anywhere from like a minute to 2 minutes on each fight. So let's talk about the only prelim that I think people are extremely excited about, which is Sean Brady against Belal Muhammad. I'll just give my thought first off, which is this is a kind of a very interesting matchup, and it's one of those matchups that there's a big X factor in that Sean Brady hasn't fought a lot of top guys. He's fought tough guys, but he hasn't fought a lot of top guys. And he's a great jiu-jitsu guy, really, really good. He got that win over Craig Jones on points, even though that was a modified rules jiu-jitsu contest. But
right.
you know, as you know, as a high-level black belt, Sean Brady is apparently a very good black belt, as much as a guy who's only 27 years old can be, but I would guess that's probably a lot. Apparently he's also a very strong guy. Bilal Muhammad, I think, is not known for his jiu-jitsu, but is a good wrestler and a good striker who's been getting better. I think Bilal's probably 5 or 6 years older. Give me a minute or two about how you think that fight might play out, and maybe a couple things that the fans should look for that could make it more interesting to them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of a classic striker versus grappler, right? Bilal's got great striking and solid takedowns and takedown defense. And
Sean Brady.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sean Brady. Great jiu-jitsu, you know, phenomenal on the ground. I think if you can get him to the ground and keep him there for a little bit, he stands a good chance of winning the fight. But like you said, he hasn't fought any of the top guys. Bilal Muhammad has actually been fighting some very top level guys for the last few fights, and that makes a big difference. You know, the experience at that level makes a big difference. So I'm gonna go with Bilal Muhammad on the fight, but I think it'd be awesome to see Sean Brady submit him, you know, but Bilal's made a giant leap, I think, in the last year and a half, and I think it'd be hard to stop him on that night.
Yeah, Bilal started out as the favorite about 2 weeks ago, and now he's actually the dog. And sometimes I think that with these young guys that are undefeated, a lot of hype comes in there. Like, I just feel like you get a lot of younger millennials and Generation Z that don't care about the guy who's in his mid-30s. All they're thinking about is their guy who's 28 years old, who's 15-0, and who's, you know, submitting everyone. And I think sometimes, you know, that's not the smart money. So I'd be curious to see if late money comes in. I would think it might come in on Bilal. But still, nevertheless, it's a fairly close fight in the betting odds. Do you think the fight will go the distance, or would you say most likely not?
I mean, honestly, it depends where the fight takes place. I think if it ends up getting onto the ground for very long, I think it stands a good chance of being inside the first 2 rounds. I think Bilal is going to have a hard time knocking him out if he's constantly pressuring him to clinch him and to tie him up, you know, to get him to the ground. It might be a lot harder to finish the fight. But I think if it's on the ground, there's a much better chance that it gets finished.
Especially if Sean is on top. I guess this is going to be kind of a good test on.
100%.
Yeah, this is going to be kind of a good test and a good way to get the question answered. How good is Bilal's jiu-jitsu, even his jiu-jitsu defense? I think that's what's going to be tested here, right? Because I think if his jiu-jitsu is very good, then he could possibly shut down that, and that's primarily Sean Brady's game, and then he could keep it on the feet and might be the better wrestler. Let me ask you something. All these people talking about how strong Sean Brady is, I think even Michael Chiesa mentioned it when he lost to him about a year or so ago. I assume that everyone at a high level of MMA is strong. What would make so many people put this strong monitor? Is it something like they're feeling his squeeze? Is that it? Or from a high level black belt like yourself, what might make someone keep saying strong when referring to this guy, Sean Brady?
A lot of times someone who's really good at jiu-jitsu, someone who's really good at their weight, feels stronger than they are. Like Lucas, for example, everyone says how strong he is. He probably couldn't bench 200 pounds, right? But he can squeeze someone's life out of them. And his squeeze is like incredible feeling. And everyone says I feel strong, you know, when I roll with them and grab it. I think it's just a lot of the grappling, like the constant grappling for years and years makes you strong.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a different kind of strength that they feel, you know, than like a weightlifter strong.
Yeah, dynamically, a dynamic strength makes sense. Okay, skipping to the top 3 fights. We have Beneil Dariush against Mateusz Gamrot. This is a really interesting matchup. I've known Beneil for about 6 years. I think right around the same time I first had you on the show, maybe a little bit after. I had Beneil on the show, and we've interviewed him, I think, as much as we've interviewed you and Lucas, like, you know, once to twice a year for almost 6 years. Really, really good guy.
Nice.
Really, really good guy.
I'm a fan of that guy.
Yeah, he's amazing. He, earlier in his career when he was younger, he was one of those guys that got a start fairly early, and I know Lucas got a start very early, you know, at like 18, but Beneil, I think, got into the UFC when he was 22. And as with a lot of guys, you're not going to just smash everybody. You're just not going to. But one thing I think Beneil did better than most guys is a lot of guys that get, you know, into the high level at 22, by the time they're 25 or 26, they've already been kicked out of the league. They're already somewhere else trying to work their way. And Beneil was always good enough that I don't think he was ever in that much danger of losing his contract. But he would win a couple, lose one, win two, lose two. But something clicked in for him about 5-6 years ago when he was about 26, 27. Maybe 5 years ago. And I talked to him about it, but it's been a few months, so I don't remember exactly what he said. But he just, I think maturity came in. He got his full man strength. He started to realize what mistakes he was making. And I think he started to get his confidence going really well. And since then, he's just been killing it. I think he's won 7 in a row. Amazing guy. Yeah. Very relaxed fighter. As you know, he's a very good jiu-jitsu black belt. He's got this great punching power, and his wrestling is good too. Mateus Gamrot at one point was one weight class lower. This is lightweight, but Gamrot was once 145, but he's been at 55 for a while. The biggest thing we saw Gamrot do was get that decision over Arman Sarukian, who is a very tough kid who's only 25 years old, and that's the kid that gave Islam Makhachev the hardest time, and Gamrot beat him. It was close. I had a feeling Gamrot would do it. I thought the maturity was going to make a difference, but Gamrot looked like a killer against Sarukian. So give me your thought, a minute or two, on what do you think the matchup looks like? What are the key thoughts that you have about this matchup, and what do you think are a couple of ways that fight could unfold?
So again, kind of goes back to the last fight we just talked about. I think the experience of Beneil Dariush fighting better, higher level quality guys more often, I think that plays a big part in it. You know, Gamrot's a stud. You know, he's had one guy, I think, who's a really high level tough guy. Right. And Beneil his story right now reminds me a lot of Charles Oliveira. Right. You know, they were hot and cold, and all of a sudden something clicked and they went on a run. Yep. And you know, and I've really been paying a lot of attention to Beneil. I'm a big fan of that guy. I love watching him fight. His post-fight interview, I won't get into that, but probably one of my favorite of all time. Right. And so yeah, man, I really hope. I'm pulling for him tomorrow night, and but I know he's got, or Saturday night, sorry. And I know he's got his work cut out for him, but I believe, you know, that he can win that fight. I believe he can win that fight both places. You know, he's a really good striker, trains with a great coach. I believe still at King's MMA with Alfredo Cordero. Yes, he is. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. And yeah, I think he's such a real well-rounded, good fighter. Wrestling-wise, I mean, I know that Ferguson hasn't been on the greatest of runs, but the wrestling he showed against him was awesome too. Yeah. Like I'm pulling for him.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm very surprised that he's the dog. They have Gamrot minus 200, minus 210, minus 195, and Dariush anywhere from plus 150 to 162. It just seems like people sleep on Dariush because he's not a trash talker. He's a very religious Christian guy. He's doing amazing things in charity. He was giving more than half of his paychecks for years to the charity he has in Haiti, and for whatever reason people sleep on him. But yeah, I think Gamrot's the one that's going to have to fight absolutely perfectly.
I feel like he's not going to get the love that he deserves until he's fighting for the belt and people realize, oh wow, okay.
Yeah. Yep. And I believe with confidence that the winner of Gamrot Dariush is going to get the winner of Oliveira Makhachev, as it should be. And especially if it's Beneil. Yeah, if it's Gamrot, I don't know. If it's Beneil, for sure. And I think that'll happen. Yeah, I like Beneil. Off 8 straight. Yep, absolutely. Okay, how about oh wow, for some reason did we don't tell me we lost a fight. This is okay, because I'm looking at the fight odds And okay, let's take a look here. Go up, doctor. All right. Okay. Good. Okay. All right. So we've only got about 5, 6, 7 minutes left. So give me maybe about a minute. I won't talk too much on these. We've actually got 3 fights to go. So Petr Yan, Sean O'Malley. This is a weird fight to me. Sean O'Malley's young. He's much taller. He's a good striker. He's got a lot of confidence. Petr Yan did get edged out by Aljamain Sterling, although it was very close. I'm not seeing that this is anything but a crush on the part of Petr Yan, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Can you give me your thoughts?
I think Sean surprises a lot of people, man. I know it's, I don't know. I'm not saying he beats him, but I think it's not going to be a blowout like everyone expects it to be. If he fights real long like he does and stays smart, I think he stands a decent chance at least going the distance. He's number 12 going against number 1. He has 0 to lose. He has 0
That's
to
right.
lose.
Nothing to lose at all.
Has everything to lose.
Yeah.
So if he throws it out there and does well and loses a decision, I think that's his stock still goes up and it does nothing for Yan. So this is a ballsy fight for Petr Yan to take, and I feel like Sean O'Malley turns some heads in this fight, even if Petr Yan wins.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I've never been a huge Petr Yan fan, although he is a rugged, tough guy.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. He almost a little bit seems like a smaller version of a Chris Brennan, but maybe without the jiu-jitsu. You know, what'd you say?
I definitely wouldn't have Sterling on my back 3 rounds in a row.
No.
He is a stud. He's a great fighter.
Definitely like Petr Yan. Okay, then we have 2 left. Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. Man, this is crazy. Dillashaw came back from his 2-year suspension. A lot of people hate him because he did get popped for illegal substances. Apparently a lot of fighters are getting away with it, so a lot of fighters I think are not necessarily throwing a lot of hate or shade, as they say, on Dillashaw, because apparently a lot of guys are doing it and getting away with
Probably
it.
Smart.
Right, he just didn't get away with it. But nevertheless, regardless of steroids, we're looking at the fact that Sterling is the favorite. Dillashaw's a slight dog. I think Dillashaw is live in this fight, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on what we're looking at and what some of the key factors might be in that for about a minute or so.
Yeah, I mean, Dillashaw is a stud. He's very tough. I'm not a fan of his all the way back because I'm friends with Uriah Faber. Right. So I just he's rubbed me the wrong way since all the way back then.
Yeah.
Still phenomenal fighter. Aljamain Sterling, now that he actually won the title, a little bit more supportive of him, you know, and he got the job done well. His grappling is definitely next level. I feel kind of like the first fight we talked about. If Sterling gets him to the ground, it's going to be very difficult for TJ to get away, and his defense better be solid because you know, Sterling puts people away on the ground. However, if he can't get him to the ground, Dillashaw's got power. He's got the footwork. He's got, you know, the head movement. He's going to cause him a lot of problems on the feet.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it's going to be a good fight, but I think unless Sterling can get it to the ground, he's in trouble. And it seems kind of like a little bit of a long shot that he can, but you never know. I mean, I just, you know, I have a friend who's a family friend of Dillashaw, and he says the guy's family are great. They're nice people, but then I understand your thoughts about him not being totally. Dr. Adam Rhoda is wanting me to do the main title and the main event, I think, and that's the one that's next up, unless it was something else, Doc. That's where we're going. Got it. Beautiful. Okay. All right. So what we're gonna do is ask about the big one. Chris, this is one of the most anticipated fights in years, and give me a couple minutes on this. What I really want is your expertise, having been a grappler for like 30 years of your life, being a high-level black belt and a teacher. This is Sambo against Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I think overall it's 2 pretty balanced mixed martial artists. They're both in their prime. I think one is 32, one is 31. To me, Oliveira's fought, not just to me. Oliveira's had the higher level of competition, but
no question.
Right, but Makhachev is looking like Khabib 2.0, or at least as good as Khabib, maybe. Give me a breakdown. What do you think the factors are here? What are you expecting? And what are maybe a couple of ways this could play out?
I mean, even Khabib, who's a stud and great, who did he ever fight that was like Charles Oliveira?
Nobody, right.
I don't think anybody.
Nobody.
You know, I don't think anybody. So I would love to see this fight hit the ground, just because I think that Charles Oliveira's jiu-jitsu is on a different level. He's made everyone look bad after he got hurt, right? He gets hurt one time, and then he makes them look bad the rest of the fight. And so I'm interested to see how this fight goes on the feet. I think Oliveira's a stud on the feet. You know, he does get hit, though. And Islam looks very good on the feet. He's Khabib with striking. I just feel like, depending on where they are on the ground, if Oliveira's on top on the ground, I think it's a wrap. If he's on bottom, I still think that Islam's going to be in a lot of trouble. I do not think he submits him. The only way, you can quote me on this, that he submits Oliveira is if he's got him very hurt, very beat up and tired and whatever, then maybe something crazy happens. But he's not going to out jiu-jitsu him, you know, unless he's like that. I feel like on the ground, Oliveira is going to be all over him. And I know that they stifle the jiu-jitsu and stuff it and ground and pound and whatever, but he's got a lot of submissions. And I feel like the more he tries to grapple with submissions with Charles Oliveira, the more trouble he gets in on the ground.
Yeah, could very well be. Could you see a scenario where Oliveira wins and then Khabib comes back to avenge his protege and fights Oliveira?
Wouldn't that be great?
That'd be amazing.
Wouldn't that be great?
Oh, man, I'd love it. That'd be sick. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate the analysis and your thoughts on everything. Let us know when the next fight is for your son, Lucas Brennan, because I think it's coming up in about a month or so, isn't it?
Yeah, so I'm sitting up here right now in Julian Marquez's house. We've been renting a room from him, 2 rooms from him. We've been here, this is our 4th week. Luke fights November 18th in Bellator 288, and we've been training up here at Glory MMA with James Krause and kind of going back and forth at home. But we got 1 more week up here after this one, and then it's fight time.
Absolutely. Can't wait to see it November 18th. Lucas Brennan in action again. Are we about a year away from having him maybe try to face the top guys, or do you think that's more like 2 years away?
So he's ranked number 10 right now. We're going to have this fight, and then he's going to fight in February in Dublin against probably someone from over there. And then starting this fight basically this time next year on a new contract, we'll be fighting everybody underneath us, everybody inside the top 10.
Nice. I can't wait to see it. Lucas is amazing. And with you there working with him, it's the winning team. And with James Krause, it's amazing. We've talked to James several times, and you know, hope we get him on again. I coordinated with him last time to try to get him on the last couple of months, and we tried and we couldn't. But man, maybe let him know that that we spoke.
He's like the busy.
Yeah, he's got to be. But thank you so much, Chris Brennan. Huge respect to you. The Westside Strangler, OG, pioneer of MMA, one of the best teachers, next generation schools around the world, next generation jiu-jitsu. Hit Chris Brennan up. What's the best social media to hit you up, Chris?
Instagram, you just search my name, Chris Brennan, Chris Brennan 3-time champ, or just Chris Brennan on Facebook. Those are the only 2 I deal with.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Big respect to you, Chris. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Have a great night. See you. All right, and we are ready for Chris Brown. Thank you so much, Chris Brennan. Always great to talk to you, isn't it, Doc?
Chris Brown or
yes.
Or Lytle?
Lytle has still not got back, so we're talking Brown now. We already coordinated the time with Brown. And
he's good to go now?
Yeah. We're hoping
nice.
Yeah, we're hoping we can get Lytle in the last segment.
Cool. Love it.
Yeah.
Well,
always good to talk to Chris.
You know, while
Brennan, right?
yeah, and while we have a second, because it's showing that he hasn't seen it for a little while, I'm gonna throw this out there because we haven't really talked about this. The whole UFC banning fighters from betting on fights.
Yeah,
at
and
all.
their camps. They're trying to ban their camps. I mean, come on.
I mean, every other sport has that, and it's actual law in some states. So I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense.
I see not being allowed to bet against yourself. But what the hell's the problem betting on yourself?
Yeah, but that's the whole point. I mean, same thing. Yeah. Pete Rose did that too, and he, you know, people were asking, well, what about friends and family? Well,
How are you going to stop everyone's friend and family?
I think it's silly. I honestly, I'm one of those guys that I've always argued. I loved Pete Rose.
Yeah,
when I was a real young kid and just started throwing a ball with my dad was when he was all about it, you know?
Absolutely.
So it was one of those things where I absolutely loved him. He was my favorite player. And then all of a sudden.
Yeah, the scandal. Yeah.
The scandal. And it's like, well, I didn't understand at the time. And I look back on it and it's like, I still don't understand.
No, I hear
so
you.
I kind of feel it's the same way here at the end of the day. I don't know, everybody. Drop your comments here for us. Let us know how you feel about the fighters not being allowed to bet on themselves or any other fighter in the UFC. It's kind of crazy to me that I think they're taking it that far. But
exactly. But anyway, our guy is ready. Chris
Brennan.
Ready.
All right, let's give him a call.
Yep. All right.
There it is.
Cool.
There he is.
Hey, Chris, can you hear me? Chris Brown.
Yes, I can hear you.
Cool. All we need you to do is hit that video. You got it right there.
We see you. And while I'm on the audio here, Chris, I'm going to say it again. I'm one of your biggest fans, man. I'm super stoked to have you on as a guest again. But going to be watching this next fight and love hearing about it coming up.
That's it. LFA title fight, man. I love it. That's something you deserve. And then I think with that, you'll have so much swag, they can't help but putting you into a UFC fight with a full camp and not just 2 days notice. So tell us about that quick. Who you're going against, what's the date, and where's the venue?
I'm fighting for LFA, I want to say 148 in Commerce, California against Alfonso Leyva. He's an Olympic Greco-Roman wrestler from Mexico. We actually used to train together.
Oh, wow.
He used to train at Jackson Wink a few years ago. I want to say like 4 years ago, maybe.
Interesting.
When he first started MMA, we were the gym was sponsoring him. He was living in the dorms, and he was a heavyweight when he first started.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So now he's lost a lot of weight because when they offered me the fight, I took the fight, and then our general manager comes in the gym. He's like, "Hey, you remember he used to train with us, BREEZY?" I was like, "Did he?" And then I was like, because I didn't pay attention to anything. I was just like, "Who?" Because they didn't even have a name for me when I signed for the fight.
Right.
So they're like, "You fight for the belt on the 9th." And I was like, "You got an opponent?" They're like, "No." I was like, "Well, I don't care. Just sign me up."
Whoever. And this is at 170. So this guy, former heavyweight's at 170. All right.
Yeah, so he's lost a lot. That's why I didn't recognize him at first. And until I actually sat and actually looked at his picture, and I was like, "Oh, hey,
that's
I remember him. Alfonso."
Yeah, interesting. So the last time you trained with him was what? You say around 2019, 2018 or something?
Probably something like that.
So what would you think? Because I mean, I know you have to take something from the time you trained with him to use, because a man's skills are going to be a man's skills to an extent. But now that he's smaller, he's going to be quicker. But what do you think? Do you think you can kind of use what you saw from him those years back and get a pretty good idea where he's at, or is there some film you've been able to look at to see what he's done since then?
I've watched this film. He really hasn't changed too much other than the weight. Still fights the same. His grappling's still the same. So I think it's a great matchup for me. He's not like a folk style wrestler and a collegiate wrestler where he's going to be shooting a lot. He's a Greco-Roman guy, so he likes body locks and things. So he's going to try to get close. But, as we know, his striking is nowhere near mine, and he's very basic. He's just trying to swing big punches, and it's just going to show, just like last fight. There's the same similar situation. A 6-0 prospect that they're trying to build up, who hasn't fought anybody. He fought one person with a decent record, was 8-1, and he won, but that wasn't an impressive fight, and that guy wasn't impressive either.
Right.
So he's gonna see that there's a whole nother level to this stuff, because if he remembers how training was before, then, he has an idea. But even I know he's changed a little bit, mainly his size, but my striking and my grappling has also improved. So I still feel like I have the advantage everywhere.
Makes
sense. He's going to see that. you know, there is levels. I'm a teacher now. I got to teach these youngins.
I love it. I love it. And you learn when you teach. That's one thing is really true. You learn when you teach because it reminds you of all the basics. And, you know, you know, I know that you've been around great people and you're an experienced, great fighter, but it's only going to make you better, as I'm sure you're seeing when you teach. Without a doubt. Did we lose the volume? Did we lose the audio? Chris, can you hear me? Okay, is that us possibly, Adam, or is that his side, do you think? Okay, Chris, we're going to Skype call you right back. We'll Skype call you right back.
So y'all can barely hear me.
Hey, Chris, sorry about that. We had a little problem with connection, and we had you freezing on the screen, and your audio wasn't that great, but we got it looking good now. Okay, so...
Y'all can see me good, right?
Yep, we got you good. Perfect. Okay.
I can't see you guys.
No. Yeah, I wish we could arrange that, but, you know, it'll look good, guaranteed, as usual. All right, so...
Yeah, no worries.
Cool. So, in this case, we're not going to be able to get you as a betting underdog like last time.
Watch. They gonna watch. I'll watch. They gonna have me as an underdog again.
Unbelievable. Oh, man.
I believe it. They had me as an underdog my last fight. Like, and I'm like, what video have you seen that this dude is anywhere near what I can do?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Let's see if we can see anything. But that's what's the date on that again?
December 9th.
December 9th. Okay, I don't know if that's up yet. Dr. Adam Rorta, let's take a look. Let's see if we can see LFA in December.
I sure believe they will put me as an underdog again. They just did it with Harris.
Yep.
So I'm like, and I'm like, how are y'all gonna base? What did y'all base this on?
I know it doesn't make sense, but no, we were glad to get you as an underdog last time, and if they do it again this time, that's ridiculous. But it's going to be great. We're looking forward to that. December 9th, you said, and that's going to be in Commerce, so you're not going to be fighting at altitude like last time. So the breathing is going to be easier, and it's, you know, I have a feeling we're going to see some prime Chris.
Yeah. I'm going to be able to turn it up, because we're at sea level or below sea level, whatever Cali's at.
Yep.
So I'm going to be able to push a great pace.
I like that. I can't wait to see it, man. You're one of the more exciting fighters out there, man, and it's going to be amazing. Well, let's get your opinion on this UFC card, man. I know after this LFA fight, I think UFC would be your new home. You're going to be an amazing addition to it. You fight at welterweight, but you've also fought at lightweight. And it just so happens a majority of the fights are at lightweight and welterweight. We're going to start closer to the bottom. You know what we'll do? We're going to grab the one undercard fight that I'm most excited about, then we'll jump into the main card. So we got Sean Brady and Belal Muhammad. This is your weight class, right? So
that's an undercard fight, huh?
Yeah, I think that's the prelim. That's the main event on the prelims.
Yeah, because that's funny. Belal's ranked so high, and they got him fighting prelims.
I know,
so boring.
I know, man. That's
so
pretty.
Boring.
That's kind of unfortunate, because to me, they should have possibly made Caitlin Chukagian and Manon Fior, the women's fight, the main event of the prelims, and Belal and Sean on the main card. But in Caitlin Chukagian's defense, she has fought on about 8 main cards, so she might have even more experience on the main card than Belal. But you know, either way, the bottom line is I think
they think her fight might be more exciting than his.
They might think, they might think, that could be the thought. But let's jump into Sean Brady and Belal Muhammad. Man, this is interesting. We just talked to Chris, the WESTSIDE Strangler Brennan. His son Lucas Brennan is in Bellator, is a top featherweight, and Chris Brennan was an OG back in the day in the UFC, and he's a numerous time black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the Masters division, and a great teacher. So we got his thoughts. But Sean Brady is 15-0. He fought Michael Chiesa, but hasn't really fought a lot of other names that people have heard of. But he's training over there out of Henzo Gracie, Philly, a good East Coast dude with a tough team. He is somewhat unproven.
Right.
But he's 29 years old. Who else did he beat? Dr. Edamorta? Okay, so he beat Jake Matthews, but Jake Matthews has been kind of hit and miss. He beat Christian Aguilera. Aguilera is no longer in the promotion. He beat Ismail Nurdiev, who's a good fighter, but still unproven. He beat Court McGee, who's kind of win one, lose one. And then he was actually over in LFA a bit and CFFC. But anyway, to an extent unproven, but a good jiu-jitsu black belt. He did get a win on points over Craig Jones in jiu-jitsu, but it was a modified rules matchup with no leg locks, and you take leg locks away from those John Donner guys, it does make it a little bit different.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, but still, Brady looks solid, but yet somewhat unproven. On the other side, right, Bilal Muhammad is a few years older, but is looking like he's been killing it. He's looking better than he was. For a minute, to me, it looked like Bilal was a guy who was going to be maybe around top 10, but might stop at number 10 and might kind of be a little bit of a gatekeeper. It kind of looked that way for a second, but then he went on a tear. He's got like 5 fights in a row. The fight with Leon Edwards ended up a no contest. It looked to me like Leon was winning that fight, but nevertheless, give me about a 2-minute or somewhere around there breakdown, Sean Brady and Bilal. But do me a favor, and I know if you can, throw out a couple of things that you could tell the fans to look for in this fight, or maybe a couple of things that we might not be thinking about that are going to be crucial to which way this fight goes.
This fight, I think, is gonna be a big show for Sean because he is relatively untested, so this is a big step up for him. I think Bilal is just gonna try to make it a dirty fight, just grapple him. I don't think he's gonna, he's not an exciting fighter. He's gonna try to dog him out. I think he just Sean Brady's gonna have to try show off that takedown defense, and if he can keep it standing, I think he has a great chance because I think he is the better striker. But it is gonna break down to if he can grapple with Bilal.
Understood. Now, Bilal is a good wrestler, although not one of the high-level wrestlers, but a good wrestler. And Sean is kind of a good wrestler. Sean, we know his jiu-jitsu is good, but I think some people are unsure of Bilal's jiu-jitsu because we don't see him really submitting a lot of people, and it seems
because he's a control guy. That's what I'm saying. He's not looking to get submissions. He's just trying to hang on them, wear him out, and get a finish that way. Just dog him out, get him tired. So Sean's just gonna have to keep him off him and keep it standing and light him up.
And because you feel Sean's hands are better now, that's a question mark.
I feel better, and then of course since he does have a jiu-jitsu game, if they do go to the ground, it'll be interesting to see what he can do. So maybe he's not really worried about the takedowns, and he could welcome it in and try to go from there. So it is interesting to see what he's gonna go in game plan wise. Yeah,
because I think Sean on top, Bilal's in danger. But if Sean's on the bottom, it's going to be a question. Because I think Charles Oliveira on the bottom, and back in the day Fabricio Verdum and like that on the bottom, these guys were dangerous from the bottom. But it seems
exactly. So we'll see what kind of bottom game that he has if it gets there. So, it's going to be a battle for position, I feel.
Yeah. You think it goes the distance or not?
Probably. Most likely, unless Brady gets a finish, I don't think Bilal's going to get a finish.
Makes sense. Bilal was originally the favorite, and then the last few days it switched to Brady being a slight favorite. Does that make sense, or does that seem like it shouldn't be the case?
I know people are hoping that Brady wins. I know the company probably hoping Brady wins.
Right, right.
But Bilal, he's a top-ranked guy, but he's not an exciting fighter.
Right. What do you think
that matters, especially how the UFC does things? Rankings don't really make a difference. They want to see who's out there, putting on a good show.
Very true. What do you think about this? The fights are in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates, which is primarily a Muslim country. We've got about 8 Muslim fighters on this card. To me, people are going to cheer for their people when there's nothing wrong with that. So it's going to be, in a way, like a home cage atmosphere for 8 of these Muslim fighters, including including Bilal.
That's like it is whenever they go anywhere. When they go to London, Russia, or wherever, they're bringing in local talent. So anybody who comes over there, is being brought in, to enemy territory.
Right.
How far away from their house it is, but still that area.
Right. And so I'm not trying to say there's going to be any kind of judging that's not fair, but everyone knows that when you have someone cheering for you.
Yeah, you already know.
Right.
Don't leave it to the judges.
Right, because if it's going to go to the judges, this may be for Muhammad because of how loud the fans are going to be cheering for him because his name is Muhammad, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, Brady's probably going to have to do something there. But
because especially because that'll be a really hostile environment for him.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think several of these fighters are coming from AKA that are absolute killers. They got Abu Bakar Nurmagomedov.
Oh, well, yeah, that makes sense because, they basically farming them up over there.
They are, man. They got a whole bunch of killers over there in Northern California, and so it's going to be interesting. Okay, next one, let's go to the main card. And let's get, well, you know what? You trained a lot with Holly. Holly looks like a prototype physically of the 2 women that are in that first fight on the main card. Manon Fior against Caitlin Chookagian. Let's do that one. Manon Fior, coming from France, is this big, tall girl who's strong. She's kind of measured, but then she is explosive. She's a good finisher. I think we just lost your video.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's right.
No problem. And so Fior is kind of the newcomer, but she's kind of been big sistering a lot of women. She did struggle a little bit with Mayra Bueno Silva, who's a very tough Brazilian. But otherwise, she's been big sistering a lot of these girls. I don't know if she's undefeated, but she's got a great record, but she's only been in the UFC for a minute, fighting like 3 opponents. Caitlin Chookagian has been there forever. She's fought all the top girls. She's a Renzo Gracie black belt, but she's also got kind of like that point karate style, reminding me a little bit of Holly. I think sometimes they'll both like ki when they throw punches and kicks. Way more experience, but Caitlin Chookagian, she's a nice girl, but I find that when I would bet on her, she loses. And when I bet against her, she wins.
I wouldn't bet on her this fight.
No. But is that because you like Fior that much, or just because you think it's unpredictable what's going to happen in a Caitlin Chookagian fight?
It's a little unpredictable, but you kind of know what she's going to do. Like you said, you can't count on betting on her because you never know what she's going to go out there and do. So if I think the other girl comes out there and is just really aggressive, I think she's going to win.
Understood. Okay, Dr. Adam Morton, let's go back to where I can see the next fight in the card is, but I'm pretty sure that I think it's going to be Beneil. But let's go down, okay, and let me see a little bit down from there, and got to go down a little bit there. Okay, stop. Okay, all right, here we go then. We got the big 4 fights. These are the big 4. Man, oh man, what would you do? I know you got your own life and you're worried about your own life, but what would you do if someone tried to distract you from being available to watch these main fights on Saturday? I don't think you'd allow that, would you?
That's what we got phones for.
There you go. Watch it on your phone if you got to be somewhere. I love it. All right, we got Beneil Dariush and Mateus Gamrot, your old division, your old weight class, lightweight. This one's exciting as hell to me. Beneil Dariush is a good guy. We've interviewed him almost as many times as we've talked to you over the years. Real good dude.
He just got passed on his title fight.
Yes, he did. Yup, something happened. He was injured, and then that was that. But the winner of this fight, this is a #1 contender fight, and the winner of this fight is going to fight the winner of Charles Oliveira and Islam, especially if it's Beneil. I think Beneil has been guaranteed that, but it's possible Gamrot has as well. I think they're both guaranteed that. I think this is indeed officially a #1 contender fight. These are both very unique guys. Beneil, having been here for about 15 years, the man got in the UFC real young, like your good friend and training partner Jon Jones. He managed to hang in there, but he would win 2, lose 1, win 3, lose 2, and then he just got on a streak. Something clicked in about 4 years ago, and he's been killing it. Gamrot's, fighter from Poland, I think may still train in Poland, but I think he's trained a few places here.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know I had looked at that a little bit. Not sure where he trained, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this fight.
Yeah, how do you think this goes?
It's going to be a banger.
Yeah, it's just both guys are explosive, powerful, and dangerous everywhere.
Both guys are going to bring it hard and often.
Yeah. Do you think it'll go the distance or not?
Oh man, if they go to the distance, both of them are going to take a beating.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Because I think it probably will end either second or in the third. I don't think they'll make it out of the third. But they're both super tough, and they're gonna beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah, I think so. I'm surprised that they have Gamrot favored, although to me, Chris, I see a lot of odds being made based on what someone's done recently and based on right, and Gamrot
recency bias always
right, and Gamrot did get that good win, although it was really close against Arman Sarukian, and that was a killer fight if you remember that, like 4 months ago.
That.
Yeah, and but in all honesty, Sarukian is the first guy that was even close to the top 10 that Gamrot has beaten. I know Gamrot beat Jeremy Stevens, but that was toward the end of Jeremy's career. And other than that, Gamrot hasn't beat a lot of top guys. And I think one of the things that Gamrot had on Sarukian was only 25 years old. And even though he's got a lot of potential, he was really green. I picked Gamrot in that fight, although he was a 3-1 dog, because I just said, man, I'm going to go with the 31-year-old over the 25-year-old every time. Not that I'll be right every time, but more times than not, right? You got the experience, right? It's going against someone doesn't even have his full man strength yet at 25.
Yeah, right? He ain't even grown.
Right, exactly. So in this case, though, Gamrot's not going up against someone like that. Beneil Dariush is 2 years older than Gamrot, so he's still in that same age range, but definitely full-grown man. He's strong as hell. He's confident as hell. I think the experience factor is going to mean something in the favor of Beneil Dariush.
I think he's going to get the edge because of the experience factor. I think he's just going to be a little trickier in the cage. Knows exactly what he needs to get done in there to get a win. I think he will get the edge. Maybe he gets an explosive knockout, but either way, I think he does get the edge.
I think so. And I was listening to a couple of young guys do a breakdown, and I'm an older guy, so I'm not trying to throw shade on younger guys because then they'll throw shade back on me for being old. But I saw a couple of young guys breaking it down and pointing out that even though Beneil, I think, just turned 33, they were pointing out that in his 20s, he was win one, lose one, and this and that. And to me, when a man's 33, he's won like 8 fights in a row over the past 4 years. How are you going to say he's going to revert to where his head was at 6, 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, he's not even the same person as he was that long ago.
You know, why would he? It doesn't make much sense because, he's not that same person. And I'm glad you agree because, I don't think Beneil Dariush is going to be breaking. And I don't think he's going to be doing...
No, there definitely... He's been through way too much to break at this point.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. So I like him, and he's a slight underdog. So I got him there. All right, we got...
Yeah, that's crazy. He's an underdog, but I guess since he's coming off an injury, maybe?
Possibly that. You're right. It's been a little bit over a year since he fought, and he's coming off that injury that stopped
so maybe they're saying ring rust, and, you know... what's his name? Gamzat was a little more active.
That's
right.
Just
got done fighting, so they're like maybe he's got a little bit of ring rust coming back and fighting top competition. Maybe that's the thinking.
Could be it, but definitely be a great fight. All right, this one I'm very curious about your thoughts because fans are going to have the 2 different thoughts. Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley, Sugar Sean, right? Fans are thinking one of 2 things. Fans are either thinking that Sugar Sean shouldn't even have taken this fight. He's going to get absolutely smashed.
I think he's going to get mauled.
Yeah, okay, all right. But give me your thoughts as a professional, experienced fighter. Why is he going to get mauled? Is it possible that the other fans that are thinking he's going to kill it, he's going to show he's a superstar? What are we looking at that are important factors in this fight?
I think Jan is the better striker and grappler. Different striking styles. O'Malley's gonna try to keep away the whole fight, because the closer Jan is, the worse it's gonna be for him, because he's not gonna want to wrestle with Jan, and if they get in close, O'Malley's gonna have to use a lot of jabs and a lot of kicks to keep that distance. Because if he's not able to keep him off of him, I think Jan is gonna maul him.
Yeah, it seems that way. So you'd give Sean what, like a 25% chance of winning this, if you could?
You know, he's a striker. He hits hard, so he has that chance. You know, if he can keep him on the outside and maybe catch him. But Jan is tough as hell, and he doesn't stop going forward. So I think the pressure will break down O'Malley, especially if he starts grappling with him.
Yeah, makes sense to me. All right, co-main event: Aljamain Sterling and TJ Dillashaw. This is what a fight this is. Two unique
hell of a
guys.
grudge match.
Oh, it is. It really is. And TJ came off that 2-year suspension. A lot of haters on him because he got caught for banned substances. However, as I mentioned to Chris Brennan, and I'm not going to ask you to answer this because you're an active fighter. Chris Brennan's not an active fighter, so I'm not going to ask you to answer this. But what people are saying to me is a whole bunch of people that are fighting are using some sort of substance they shouldn't, but they're just getting away with it, whereas TJ Dillashaw didn't. I'm not saying I'm going to embrace that.
There's a lot of that, because depending on what level you are in MMA is going on. There's always people trying to find some way to do blood doping or whatever the hell, trying to find some type of advantage. And then especially, looking through the history, most of the legends of this sport done a bunch of stuff. Just because it didn't come out and there was no USADA, you could look at the way some of these people's bodies are built.
That's right.
Look now. Look at the way they started to look when they started fighting and how they were in the middle of the careers. Like most of the people who fought in Pride, if you fought in Pride, I believe you was on steroids.
Yeah, because they didn't ban them
to everybody.
Yeah, there was no testing there. It was almost like WWE.
And the company Japan was giving them the steroids because they wanted them super aggressive.
I heard that. Yeah, man, that's too bad that wasn't still going on, man. I would have loved to have seen you in a Pride or Pride Bushido or something like that.
I would have loved to fight in Pride, to fight in Japan, because I grew up. I used to love watching Pride videos. There was this random channel on network on regular television. It would come on the weekends at like 3 a.m.
Nice.
On Saturdays, and they would air the Pride fights. So growing up as a kid, I would always watch the Pride fights, Wanderlei and all of them, doing that stuff. And so I always wanted to, go fight in Japan.
Yep.
And,
it would have been amazing. You could have had Lenny Hart saying, "From the USA, Chris Brown,"
with that cry crowd.
Yes, that would have been awesome.
It would be like fighting during COVID.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like that, because it would be about the same amount of noise.
Yep, without a doubt. But all right, let's look at this. Aljamain Sterling. Aljo is a character. I like Aljo. I did pick him to beat Petr Yan. I know it was close, but I liked all the control time he had. I like the fact that people talk so much trash against him, and he came through and shut everyone up. I think Aljo is a pretty cool dude. He
surprised me.
Yeah.
I really thought he was going to lose that fight, especially after the first one. How Jan did him in the first one.
Yep.
I couldn't, it completely surprised me. So he definitely proved his worth and, shut everybody up, because I know everybody was down him, after putting the performance he did and, exaggerating for the knee and everything to keep the belt.
You're right. Absolutely. But we only got about 4 minutes left. So what do you think, though? Dillashaw, Aljamain Sterling, what's it going to come down to? What tip could you give fans to look for as far as technical, when they connect and when they hook up, that might be something we can look for where the average fan might not know in that fight?
I'm not really sure how big each are, but I feel Aljamain's bigger. Aljo should be the bigger fighter. But I think what he's going to try to do is he's going to be grapple heavy. I think he's going to try to use the size advantage on Dillashaw. But he also should be long enough to trade with Dillashaw is going to have to be really explosive. And we're going to see it's going to go to distance unless I think Aljo finishes it.
Okay, and this is 5 rounds.
Dillashaw didn't get a finish his last fight, right?
No, he didn't.
Took a lot of damage.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking the same. I think it takes a lot of damage. I think Aljo tries to just wear on him and tries to just dog him out.
And you think it goes all 5 rounds and probably Aljo retains?
I think Aljo maybe could get a finish, like maybe tap him out in the 4th.
Okay, very, very cool. Okay, main event of the evening, the one everyone is talking about. Man, these two guys are amazing. Charles Oliveira has more experience. Islam Makhachev is like a Habib 2.0. Love to hear your breakdown. Tell me really quick first, though, before you give me your breakdown, what do you think your boy Jon Jones would think on that main event, and who do you think he might pick to win? I know we can't guarantee it, but what do you think? And then let's hear your thoughts.
I think he would go with Oliveira.
Okay.
I think Oliveira has proven it. He's got the records. Holds, a few UFC records. Does he have the most submissions?
I think, yep.
So most submissions. I think he has the most bonuses now or something. His track record and everything he went through to become the champion. His resolve is unmatched. I think he has one of the best stories in MMA. Just his whole journey.
Yep.
So that's what I think everyone would. Unless people are just jumping on a bandwagon. Especially Bones, I don't think he would be on the Khabib bandwagon. Especially, Khabib always trying to say that he was the GOAT or in consideration.
Right.
So I don't think that would sit well.
Okay. Would you be agreeing with Jon Jones, or what's your thought on this fight? Okay.
I agree.
All right.
Because I just think Islam, the competition, he has dominated, but he hasn't fought as any top guys like Oliveira. Oliveira fought everybody consistently, back to back, and Islam's getting to jump the line. It'd have been nice to have him fight Chandler or something,
right?
Or a Poirier,
or Darius even.
Poirier should have got a fight with him. Shit.
Yeah. Then the Darius fight was scheduled.
I think he definitely should have gotten a #1 contender fight, and not who did he fight? Dan Hooker.
Right. Yeah, I know. It did, or at least the Darius fight, they should have maybe rescheduled that.
I thought they should have moved that fight.
Yeah, Beneil was down.
There's no reason that he should have just got a title fight because of that. They should have either replaced him or they should have just moved that fight back.
I agree. I kind of feel they should have moved it back. All right, so Oliveira, 5 rounds. It goes a distance, you think, or it doesn't?
I think Oliveira gets him with a tap, 4th or 5th round, because I think Oliveira's the better striker and Islam's a better wrestler, but he's putting himself in Charles's danger zone.
Right.
So Charles has no problem. He gets dropped, goes to his back, chokes people out. He gets taken down, he gets out of it. So it's going to see how good that control is. But I think Charles is going to be so active with submission attempts, he's not going to be able to just hold him.
Yeah, I think so. And the last thing I'll say on it is I've seen the same people, same young guys on this couple podcasts saying the same thing about Beneil that they're now saying about Oliveira. They're like, well, Oliveira back in his mid-20s, he was unsure of himself and he got broke several times, so he's going to revert to that. To me, again, that's
a whole different person. This man on how many fight win streak? He's a champ.
Exactly.
He didn't beat up everybody after losing all that stuff.
Yep.
Because you gotta see people. So a lot of times people hit that click, and whatever when they hit their stride and they go.
Yeah.
And there is no turning back unless you just get caught with something.
Right.
But that's not reverting. But
no.
We've seen him in danger, and he's not break. So I don't see how just somebody wrestling and laying on top of him is going to break him, because Islam isn't going to do very much.
No, I agree. I think Oliveira looks good, and he's a slight dog also. Do you know if?
Yeah, he's a dog.
Yeah, if you put, he was a bigger dog though before. Now it's only about 2-1 or slightly under for Islam. But if you parlay Dariush and Oliveira, I think you could get about 4 times your money, and so I kind of like that parlay.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I think that's a great parlay right there.
Nice.
I think a lot of people are going to win money on that.
Yep, me.
I know people are trying to hype up him and be, Khabib 2.0 and all of this. So they trying to give him, a run. But I'm like, you see that Khabib eliminated himself from being the GOAT conversation.
Yep.
For this exact reason. So I don't see Islam doing much better. And especially, this is really going to show, because he is so basic. Like, yeah, you're not going to do no striking. You're just going to go straight for a takedown but Oliveira's so good on the ground, I think that eliminates what he's doing.
Yeah. It seems like, real quick, do you think if Oliveira wins, Khabib comes out of retirement to avenge his friend?
Khabib should have came out of retirement to fight him, but because the whole reason he retired, I don't see him coming out.
Yeah, it makes sense. Plus, he looked like
he retired because his dad passed away. Right?
Yeah, that's true. He didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, he promised his mom he wouldn't fight without him. So I don't even to try to come back and improve his legacy. I don't think he's gonna do it. I think he's just gonna enjoy his life away and try to keep building up ego.
Yeah, it makes sense. All right, well, Chris Brown, I appreciate you so much. LFA Welterweight Championship, what is this, December 2nd in
December 9th.
California. December 9th, Commerce, California.
Commerce, California, and LFA 148.
And it's going to be on UFC Fight Pass as always, right?
Yes, sir. Main event.
Can't wait to see it, man. You deserve to have that title wrapped around your waist, and then, you're going to be killing it. I think you're going to be in UFC before we know it. And I want to thank you so much for jumping on, Chris Brown. I really appreciate you, my friend.
Man, I appreciate you guys always showing love.
Much appreciated.
We started this together. We still going strong.
Absolutely. We'll keep at it, my friend. Big respect to you. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, Chris. Have a good night. All right, let's get our last guest, and we appreciate Chris Brown. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, we're ready.
Always love him coming on. Like you said, we've been at it for a while, years now, and
almost 6 years with Chris Brown.
He's still coming in, and I'm not going to hang up my gloves at least until Chris gets in here to the UFC and wins one.
I agree. We got to keep it going, and we're hoping to keep it going for years. But if we don't, at least we got to make sure we can keep on our show and see Chris Brown get into the UFC. Where
Absolutely. And everybody, thank you so much for all the comments. Seeing Peter John Ross, good friend, hopping in here. Everybody has a documentary out coming out, and kind of out there a little bit. It's called Social Media Monster. You should all check that out. Definitely interesting to say the least. I love watching it, but it also, I have a little PTSD dealing with the social media monster that is the subject of that documentary.
Yes, me too. So, I love watching it too.
You need to watch it yet, man. It's actually pretty
is it
interesting. I mean, I lived it, dealing it with this person or the subject matter that's in this documentary. It's not so exciting, but man, I do recommend everybody see it when it comes out. Just look it up in Facebook, Social Media Monster, and check it out, because it's some really great stuff. He's a very talented filmmaker.
Yes, absolutely. And you as well are a social media monster in just the best term of
in the best way possible. Yes, 100%. Yes. But on the flip side, there's the other kind of monsters out there, and you kind of have to deal with them every now and then. All right, our next guest is ready to go.
Let's get him going.
Hit up the Hannibal TV Skype on YouTube if you have not yet.
Hannibal the Cannibal. Much appreciated. Much love to Hannibal in Canada. All right, here we go. Skype dance. The Jens Pulver Skype dance. Chris, can you hear me?
Hello.
Hey, Chris, can you hear us? Can you hear me, Chris?
Hello.
Yeah. Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep, we got you. Perfect. We see you right there. Excellent. All right, Chris, we'll give you a great intro, man. You're over there on the beach, it looks like, or something. We appreciate you doing the show here, ladies and gentlemen. So happy to have our next guest on the show, BKFC color commentator, one of the best out there in the world, UFC legend, 6 times Fight of the Night bonus, the man they call Lights Out, Chris Lytle. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
My pleasure. Looks like you were having a good time out on the beach. I don't know if you want your location shared, or do you?
Sure, I don't mind. I'm in Cancun.
Nice. Having a good time in Cancun. You deserve it. I appreciate it. Okay, so BKFC has a lot of great stuff. Before we jump into the UFC 280, you want to shout out when the next BKFC is?
And next BKFC is going to be in Orlando, Florida on November 5th. We just got done with one in Denver. It was fantastic. What a fight. I mean, the main event, Mike Richmond looked unstoppable all of a sudden. Halfway through the second round, I thought he has no way of winning, and then he comes back and knocks out Doolittle in the third round. What a fight, man, back and forth.
Absolutely. Richmond was the Marine, wasn't he?
That's right, the Marine. He just been awesome, knocking everybody out, and I mean, Isaac Doolittle gave him all. Isaac Doolittle is another guy who he makes people fight his game plan. Everybody thinks it's going to be easy to beat him, and it's not. I mean, he's 3-1 or 4-1 now, but I mean, that one, he was dominating that. I mean, I was really impressed with Richmond's ability to withstand.
Absolutely. And I know Richmond, I think Richmond started MMA possibly while you were still active, or was it somewhere near just after that?
No, I think so, but man, he fought at like 135, 145. Now he's fighting at 175, 185. Wow. So it's awesome because he still has the movement of a light guy, but he's fast and quick, but he's got more power now. So he's just really pinpoint accuracy with his punching. He's looked phenomenal.
Without a doubt, very impressive. I've always liked him. I don't think he ever fought in the UFC, but he fought in various different other leagues, and I was always impressed with his toughness. Bellator, right?
Yeah, very tough guy.
Yeah, and he was cutting a lot of weight, as we can see, and it's nice. I like that guys are fighting around a healthy weight in BKFC. I think most guys are, right?
Absolutely, it's been a great thing because we get a lot of guys who've been fighting MMA for 10 plus years. But the thing is, after 10 plus years, a lot of people are like, why are they doing bare knuckle? It's so much easier on your body. You know how hard it is to get through a camp doing wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, kickboxing. You do bare knuckle, you take away all the stuff that hurts your body, the wrestling, the grappling, it hurts your knees, your joints. And all you do is have to concentrate on hands. If you still have that killer instinct, you still like to go out and fight, but you want it to be easier on your body, you go to bare knuckle, it rejuvenates your career, I promise.
Absolutely. It makes a lot of sense, and it's a great organization there, and I think having you there was one of the best decisions they made to, really make it legitimate. Yep.
Hey, thank you, man. That's cool. I'm just trying to, I was one of the few athletes, I think, I did pro boxing, pro MMA, and I did pro bare knuckle, so I feel like it makes a lot of sense. It's a sport that I really believe in, because from a mental point of view, I mean, the scariest thing I've ever did, really looking back, was boxing. I mean, if I would have kept doing boxing, I've no doubt I'd have probably some brain problems, because my style, I was an inside fighter. I mean, if you just continue to do that day in, day out, you're going to have problems eventually. Maybe any great boxer who sticks around for a long time, who doesn't have some kind of deficit, it's crazy. So, I mean, bare knuckle is much safer than that. You're going to get cut open more, yes. It's going to be superficial damage, but you're not going to get the brain damage from bare knuckle as you do from boxing. Right,
absolutely. It's a great sport, and I think is a great organization over there at BKFC with David Feldman and yourself, and the other commentator is Sean Wheelock, right?
Sean's as good as it gets, man. It's fun to work with him. He makes it easy.
Absolutely. Well, great organization. And next event, once again, tell us again the date, and it's a pay-per-view, or you buy the package or something, right?
So even better, you just buy the BKFC app, $4.99 a month, and you get all the fights for free. So, $60 for the year, less than one UFC, and we put on about 2 fights a month, so you're going to get 24 fights.
Nice.
Probably right around there. I don't know.
Excellent.
I mean, for $60 a year, you cannot. It's too cheap, actually.
Absolutely. And that's Orlando, Florida. What's the date of the next fight?
November 5th.
Fantastic. I'll remember that. That's one of my little brother's birthdays.
Main event, we got Reggie Barnett. He's going to be fighting Gian Herrera, former UFC veteran. So that dude, tough as nails. I mean, that's going to be a fantastic fight. So.
Absolutely. I always love watching Reggie Barnett fight. So that's going to be exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into it. UFC 280 from Abu Dhabi, the United Arab Emirates. Let me ask you this. If you were an active fighter in your late 20s, early 30s, and you were needing to get on an airplane for an 18-hour flight and go fight somewhere where there's a 10-hour time difference or something like that, would that have thrown you? And how much does it throw a lot of these guys and girls, do you think?
I mean, I don't think it would have thrown me because, I mean, by that point, you should be pretty good at being a professional and deal with anything like that. I mean, I remember early in my career, I hadn't even been fighting 2 years. I was flying over to Japan and fighting a lot. So, I was at 12-hour flight over there. Different environment, different culture. But you got to rise above that. If you're the UFC and you're high on the card, you've probably been better. That better be the last of your problems. I mean, it is a little different. I mean, that's just all part of it. You got to go out there. You got to figure out how to compete at the highest level. You should be making your body, peak at the right time, and all that should be done in training. Hopefully, It won't make that big of a difference to anybody.
Okay. Second thing is thinking about home cage advantage. I think there's about a half a dozen or even 7 or 8 Muslim fighters that are Arabic speaking, and they're going to have a good home cage advantage. A lot of really tough guys, several of them out of AKA, under Javier Mendez and Habib Nurmagomedov. And what does it mean when someone has, all the fans cheering for them? I know, it's not talking about any corruption in the judging, but it can influence the judges. And I know you'd like to think maybe some of the judges won't let that influence them, but I just don't know if it's possible. So my feeling is you're going to have to probably clearly beat these good hometown guys, so to speak, to get the decision over there in Abu Dhabi, wouldn't you think?
Of course. I mean, like you said, I don't think it's anything nefarious or anything.
Yeah.
I think what it is, and I can think of fights I've had. I've lost 5 split decisions. I can know a couple of them were in the other people's hometown.
Yeah.
And, it's just, let's say I remember having a punch. I landed a really good punch, crickets. You couldn't hear anything. And I was like, I can't. And they threw a kick and I blocked it and the crowd erupted. So I'm like, if you're a judge and you hear that, it does affect you. I've even talked to certain promoters who said, man, we would put fans that we knew were going to cheer for the guy right behind the judges because we knew that's their job. It's to yell really loud every time a kick's going to be thrown or a punch to affect the judges. So that's a strategy people use because it works. It's
I love
real.
it.
You can't. I don't think it's anything evil or somebody's trying to rip you off. It's just you get affected. You really do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's a very safe and high class situation in Abu Dhabi. So I'm not trying to say it's not in this next statement, but how'd you like to be a guy who's not a fighter, who's paid to sit behind the judges in Abu Dhabi and cheer against the Muslim fighters? I don't,
That might not work.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of a problem. But I think the worst thing that would happen is they might just escort you out and give you a warning. But anyway, though, I like that thought, though. It makes sense. You can, the way you can counter the hometown crowd is if you have your guy standing behind the judges. I like that. But anyway, let's jump into the fight. I don't want to keep you more than maybe, let's say, like 15, 18 minutes, something like that. So let's start with the only fight that I'm really, really excited about on the undercard, which is Sean Brady and Belal Muhammad, your old division, the welterweight division where you spent the majority of your career. Sean Brady, 15-0. He beat Michael Chiesa, which is a good win. He had several other wins in the UFC that weren't against top guys. He's a black belt out of Renzo Gracie, Philly. He's known for being extremely strong. He beat Craig Jones in a jiu-jitsu match about a year ago, but it was modified rules with no leg locks. Although I talked to a couple of people that were training partners of Sean's and said he wouldn't have got caught with the leg locks and it wouldn't have mattered. But, you know, it's still, you have to throw that out there because the Danaher guys are leg lock experts, and I don't know that Craig wouldn't have caught him. But nevertheless, Brady's great. Belal Muhammad, I don't know if Belal is a purple belt or a brown belt or whatever level he is. I don't think he's a high-level black belt like Brady, but he sure is a lot more proven as an MMA fighter. What are you looking at in this matchup? What do you think the determining factors are going to be? And what are a couple ways you see that fight turning out? Which way do you lean, if anything? Are you on the fence?
Man, you know, Muhammad, he just seems to find a way to win. He usually has a good game plan, a game strategy. Even things I think he should probably lose, sometimes he's able to pull out the win, but it's going to be tough, man. You know, there's something to be said about a guy who's undefeated, and you know, especially with the win over a guy like Craig Jones. That just shows a whole different level of I mean, you've been doing this for a while, I've been training. You are a very skilled fighter, so I'm going to say that with his undefeated record, it's going to be, I mean, I would see him finding a way to win this fight. I don't think he's going to fall into Muhammad's fight his game. He's going to fight his own game, and I feel like he'll probably find a way to get the victory. Like I said, the undefeated streak is there for a reason. He means he's coming to win.
Yeah, I think the fans obviously will be cheering for Muhammad, so Brady might have to win even more convincingly than he should to get that decision. But you never know. It's should be a good fight, though. You think it goes the 3-round distance or not?
I think it probably will, but I don't think it's going to be that close to where they're going to be able to not give it to Brady. You know, I think it'll be clear enough that he'll probably win. I think Muhammad has to fight a very specific fight. He'll try and slow it down and make it he'll try and make it a close fight, in my opinion. But yeah, I just don't. I think it'll be decisive enough where it won't be. But right, so I could be wrong.
You believe in Sean Brady, in other words?
Yes.
Gotcha, makes sense. And I kind of am leaning that way too. I've interviewed Belal. He's a super nice guy with a great sense of humor. But yeah, this one's going to be a tough one. But I tell you, whoever wins this is definitely going to be in talks in that ultra competitive welterweight division. That is for sure. All right, next fight. Let's do the women real quick. Manon Fiorot and Katlyn Chookagian. I don't think I asked you to look at this one, but I don't know if you're that familiar with the French woman, Manon Fiorot, and let me know, but she looks about the same size. They're both like 5'8", 5'9", 135 pounders. Chookagian's so unpredictable. She's good, but it just seems like I found if I bet on her, she loses. If I bet against her, she wins. But she's way more experienced, but yet the French girl's been kind of really smashing girls. But to me, for them to make the French girl 2.5 to 1 favorite when she hasn't really fought much of anybody, I think that's wrong. I think Chookagian's got a good chance here. Do you have any thoughts, or are you familiar at all with Fiorot?
No, I'm not as familiar. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really look into that fight very much. So I probably would just avoid saying much about that because I would probably I don't feel like I know enough about it.
No problem.
Here's a problem. You know, there's just so many fighters anymore. You really have to do your homework. I mean, just haven't seen enough.
Without a doubt, it's true, and I appreciate that. No problem. All right, let's jump into the main 4 fights. Beneil Dariush, Mateus Gamrot. What a fight. Dariush was supposed to fight Islam. He got injured. I would have thought they would have rescheduled that fight. Beneil, I think, was hoping for the same thing. They didn't. They gave Islam the shot right to Charles Oliveira. This is, however, a #1 contenders fight from what I understand. Beneil Dariush, Gamrot, whoever wins fights the winner of Oliveira and Islam, and whoever wins that fight will be the championship. So this is a #1 contender fight. They've got my friend Beneil Dariush, a slight dog. I don't mean he's like a great long-time personal buddy, but I've interviewed him 6 or 7 times. Great guy. I think he should be favored. I think experience means something, but Gamrot sure looked great against Arman Sarukian. this is going to be a hell of an explosive fight, I think. Give me your thoughts on how this one unfolds and what the factors are here.
I mean, Deros, to me, he's been very quietly being one of the best for a while now, and
Yes.
so it just kind of surprises me too that he's an underdog. You know, I think he's right there in the mix. He just does it so quietly that he's not trying to make any noise. He's not trying to, you know, be loud. And it's almost to his own detriment, I think. Like I said, this is a situation. If he were loud and brash in the media, I think he probably would be the favorite. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I just think he's got too much skill right now. I think I would definitely feel like if I'm picking, I'm making him the favorite. I see him winning this fight.
I think so too. He's a really good guy. He's a religious Christian. He runs a charity that he's sponsored like pretty much in full in Haiti. And he's got a daughter, I think, who's just maybe a year old. And he's just as nice a guy as you can get. I remember when he got one of his first fight of the night bonuses, he gave it all to the charity in Haiti. And he said someone asked him about, you still driving that old Toyota? How about using your bonus money? And he said, no, you know what? He said, the people need the money for food more in Haiti than for me to look good driving a newer car. And he said, my car works, it'll get me where I'm going. And so he's a really good dude and a humble guy. And I think that good karma is on his side. Not that it isn't for Gamrot, but yeah, he's only a slight underdog, but I think that's live. I think right now I'm seeing him at plus 160. Wow, even plus 180. And
wow.
Yeah, no, is that 80? No, it isn't. 160, plus 160, 165. I think that's wrong. And I think he's just too experienced, too big, too strong, and he's more proven. I think the people that have criticized him, I saw some young guys put out a podcast saying, well, in his earlier days when he was in his mid-20s, he did get beat by a few guys, and he's just going to resort to being the same guy he was 8 years ago. But that doesn't make any sense, does it?
No, that's ridiculous. I mean, you want to say that? Look at Charles Oliveira. You know,
right.
Who him early in his career, you know?
Right.
He'd win one, he'd lose one, he'd win one, he'd lose one. But I mean, we'll talk about him later. But it's like this lost some early in your career means absolutely nothing. This is about evolving and where you are now, not where you were 5 years ago. It's
exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when I was listening to these guys say that, I just felt like I was shaking my head saying, guy, just because you're 27 years old or 28 years old, saying that a guy's going to revert to what he was in his mid-20s now that he's in his early 30s is just, I don't see that. But then again, I guess sometimes with age and experience comes wisdom, and maybe these guys will learn this, But anyway, all respect, though, to all commentators and all handicappers out there, whatever age. Anyway, so we both have Darius. Okay, Petr Yan and Sean O'Malley, man. I'm dying to get your thoughts here, especially since you were a fighter that was balanced. You fought everywhere, on the feet, on the ground, wrestling, boxing, submissions. Sean O'Malley is tall and long. He's had some great victories, but not against really top guys. He's had a couple of losses, although there was weird circumstances with them. He's going up against a guy who on paper should absolutely annihilate him. The odds are almost 3-1. They're about, minus 270, minus 280, Petr Yan. UFC might want to have O'Malley win. People are saying the UFC thinks he's the bigger star. Petr Yan, a Russian guy who doesn't say much. I've never been a big, huge admirer of Petr Yan, but he can fight. But to me, this seems like a big ask of Sean O'Malley. What's your thought, and what do you think are the key factors here, and how do you think it unfolds?
I mean, I think the odds are probably about right. That's probably about where I would put it. I think Petr Yan just he's been there fighting for the as high as it gets level.
Yeah.
I think this is too big of a jump up for Sean O'Malley. Yeah, it probably would be greater for the organization for him to win, but I just don't really see a good path to victory. I mean, if he can, he's gonna have to fight a perfect fight, stay outside, keep it long, keep it on his feet, keep kind of moving. I just don't see him being able to do that the entire time. I think the experience factor is going to go, and I think he's going to find out there's levels of that thing, and he's not quite where he thinks he should get or where he needs to be yet. Maybe, I just don't see him being able to keep it on his feet the whole time, keep sticking and moving for that long. I think he's going to get put in some difficult spots. He thinks he's ready for it. He's not. That's what I think is going to happen.
Makes sense. The height advantage and length advantage he has would serve him better in let's say BKFC than in an MMA fight. Would you say?
Correct. I mean, it definitely helps if you know how to use it, which I actually think he does use that fairly well. But I don't think, you bring in the experience factor of fights in this match too. And there's, like I said, there's levels of these games. And I think he's not. I mean, not saying he can't get it, but I just don't think he's there yet. Yeah. I think he's going to get exposed for the fact that he's not there right now.
Yeah, I think you very well could be right. All right, 2 left. Co-main event. TJ Dillashaw and Aljamain Sterling. This is an interesting fight. Both guys super confident. We have a champion against a former champion. TJ Dillashaw had 2 years off from suspension. A lot of haters. He also left the Uriah Faber camp, and we had Chris Brennan on as one of our guests before you, another veteran, and Brennan said he's been friends with Uriah Faber for a long time, so they don't really like TJ Dillashaw. So trying to find some people that like TJ Dillashaw is tough. They're calling him the snake, this, that, whatever. But I think when it comes down to it, that's not really important in this fight. The skill set, the fact that TJ's only had 1 fight since his layoff, he looked good. Some people felt that Corey Sandhagen beat him, although he did get the victory. On the flip side of it, Aljo came out and beat Piotr Jan in a fight that some people felt he didn't win, although it was a really good fight for Aljo. How does this fight play out? How do you think these 2 guys match up, and what do you think the key factors are?
Man, I mean, they match up very well. They're both so fast at what they do, just so incredibly, their timing is very good. They're fast. They look like 2 cats out there going, it's just like they're fast twitch muscle fibers. It's so unbelievable. I think Aljamain's, I wouldn't say he's a little bit more well-rounded, but he's very, I don't know, Dillashaw's very good at wrestling, very good at getting up, very good on his feet as well. But I just feel like Aljamain's a little bit, I don't even know if younger is the right word, but I don't think he has the miles on him.
A little fresher.
And taking off years, being suspended, I think that's going to affect people. I mean, this game's constantly moving, changing, and evolving. If you're not in it the whole time competing, I think it makes a difference. I think Aljamain is at the top of his game right now, looking really, really good. I think he has the advantage. I think he can win in every aspect, I think, but he's not going to be winning by a lot. You know what I mean? It's going to be a close fight, but I think he'll eke out enough each in every aspect that he can win.
Do you see it going the distance?
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It could not, but I would. They're going to be so competitive. I think it's going to be a very close fight.
All right, and it is for the title, 5 rounds. I think if Dillashaw hadn't taken that time off, I think he seemed like he was a more dynamic striker and a better striker and an equal wrestler. But with time off, it's hard to say. You're right; their age may be similar, but more miles on Dillashaw. The jiu-jitsu, I think, is in favor of Aljamain, who is Gracie, Renzo Gracie, black belt. I think Gracie and Matt Sarah Longo rather. But yeah, it should be a really, really exciting fight, though, that's for sure. And it's going to be definitely interesting to see who wins it. All right, main event. Let's go maybe 3.5 minutes or so on the main event. This is one of the most exciting fights in years. I think so anticipated. Too bad it isn't Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Charles, because, right, that's the fight people would want to see. The reason being, Khabib did face some more top guys than Islam. Islam really hasn't faced a lot of top guys, and Charles has faced everyone. The same people that had criticized, saying Beneil could revert back to when he was young and lost. I heard them say the same thing about Charles, which is ridiculous. It's maybe even more absurd. He's not going to revert back to when he was in his mid-20s, the old Charles. He's a killer. This fight is so interesting. Give me the factors that you see here. What are some things that we as fans should look for that might make it more interesting for us, that maybe we might not have thought of, to see if the tides are turning or who's getting the better of this fight, and how do you think it plays out?
I mean, Oliveira, to me, I told you a while ago, I'm not betting against this guy ever again. I mean, I used to, and then he just wins so many. Like, he just looks like maybe the best fighter out there right now, especially his last fight. It's his title script, and he still comes out there and puts on a performance like that. If he's knocking down and knocking out like stand-up fighters, he's submitting ground fight. I mean, he can pretty much do it all right now. He gets hit, and he'll just go to his back, be like, fine, come to my back. I think Islam's going to have trouble. He has one way winning. He's going to have to get a takedown and grind him out. Can he do that the whole time? I don't think he can. I think it's too long for him to be able to do that the whole time. I guess, is it possible he could get Oliveira down a couple times and wear him out, and that's it? Because Oliveira gets tired, but I don't see it. I just see Oliveira. He can either catch him on his feet. I mean, like I said, I don't know how he could easily submit him or catch him on his feet, knock him down, because he's been doing that type of thing to everybody. I don't know how he's going to win, but I think he has too many tools. He's got too many ways to win, where Islam has one. I'm going to take the guy who's got more ways to win most of the time.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I think what they're talking about is this is Sambo versus Jiu-Jitsu, although I think the individuals are a key part of it. It's not just one sport against the other, one style, right? You know, it's the guys that are in it. I think also a lot of people are saying neither Islam nor Khabib have fought a lot of high-level black belts in Jiu-Jitsu. Islam, I think, has not. Khabib did go up against Dustin Poirier, and I think the key there is that Poirier was more of a top jiu-jitsu guy, doing his submissions from the top mostly. And I think when he could not get that top position, that was kind of nullified against Khabib. But I think Charles is a guy that's very comfortable on his back. And, you know, although I did hear Chael Sonnen put out a video, I listened, and Chael said, listen, nobody wants to be on their back in MMA in 2022. Right? He said, if you're on your back, you're losing. If you're on your back and the judges see it, you're losing. And so he was kind of feeling that Charles shouldn't want to continue to stay on his back here very long. But then again, I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that 100%, especially since Charles can make it really hard. And I don't think he's just going to be playing off his back minute after minute after minute. He's going to be throwing up submissions. What's your thought on that?
Absolutely, and you're not forgetting about one factor there is, I mean, I think Oliveira has felt slighted here a lot lately, and I think him coming out and right away and being a huge underdog has got to make him think, what are these people talking about? I mean, this guy's done nothing to deserve to be like a 2.5 to 3 to 1, make me an underdog. You know, he, like you said, his last fight, I'm the champ. You know, There's no question. I'm a champ of the world. He believes that he's fighting with a chip on his shoulder, and his last fight he had that, and he looked the best he's ever looked. I mean, this guy's hitting on all cylinders right now. He's fighting phenomenally, and he believes more than anything. And that's when he has that belief. I'm going with him every time.
Yeah, I think so too. I really think so too. And I have all the respect in the world for the Dagestani wrestlers. They're killer. That pressure is amazing. But I think they just haven't fought yet someone like a Charles Oliveira. And in a 5-round fight, it's going to be scary. The interesting thing is that a lot of guys, if they knock down Charles has gotten hurt briefly in the last several fights and he comes back. But it seems like every guy pretty much doesn't want to get on top of him. Islam will get on top of him. And I think Chris Brennan said it, that the only way Islam could maybe submit Charles is if he hurts him really badly and then gets on top of him on the ground, although still that's hard to picture. But yeah, Islam is going to be hard pressed to do anything here. Charles is still an underdog right now. You can get him at minus 160, minus 150, 160. At one point he was like, sorry, not plus. Charles is plus 150, 160. Yeah. Right. At one point he was plus 200. And it's unfortunate that we all didn't realize it was going to go this way, but it makes sense. Late money on Charles. Both men don't tend to go the distance ever. Islam a couple times, but hardly ever. Charles apparently has been scheduled for 5 numerous times and never even gone to the 4th. Do you think if this gets to the championship rounds that favors one or the other? And do you think this fight goes the distance or not?
I think if it goes the distance, I think it favors Oliveira. I just feel like he's got way more. I mean, he's just experienced, especially at this level of fight. I think that makes a huge factor. So I mean, I know just style wise, You know, Islam will just try to get him down and grind him. So you think maybe he'll be able to do that for that. But I just think the magnitude of the fight, the pace, and I think the longer the fight, it even favors Oliveira more.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. All right, we're going to wrap it up here, but I do want to give you a chance to shout out your products. I know you got that great Lights Out whiskey. Let us know where we can get your products and anything else, and then we'll wrap it up.
I got Lights Out Bourbon. Anybody a big bourbon fan, you can order it from Khan's Liquor, KHAN Liquor, Khan's Fine Wine and Spirits. Total Wine, we have it there in Indianapolis. I don't know, but anyway, my main thing I'm doing right now, the BKFC, just really looking forward to people getting that app and watching. It's the most exciting sport. I love watching, so fun.
It's amazing. It's amazing. BKFC is incredible. And Chris Lytle, you're doing an amazing job. And hey, man, I truly want to thank you for jumping in from Cancun and jumping in the show, man. Your opinions and your time means so much to me, brother.
Really appreciate that. Sorry I was late. I was supposed to be on earlier, but like time changed everything. I got a little confused and was out later than I thought. So I made it back in time.
No problem. Much appreciated. Chris, Lights Out Lytle, you're a legend. Keep up the great work. BKFC on November 5th in Orlando, Florida. And appreciate your time. Great chatting with you as always, brother.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Take care. And that was Chris Lights Out Lytle. Always great to chat with him, Dr. Adam Rorta. Even from Cancun, the man comes through when he's chilling on the beach. How cool is that?
I mean, come on. Everybody out there that is not doing that and showing up on time and figuring stuff out, or at least doing kind of like what we did today. These are three of the most respectful guests, and
yes,
quite frankly, two of them are complete fight legends. The other one's en route to be.
Yes, without a doubt. Brennan and Lytle, pioneers, OGs, without a doubt. And they're showing up here, even changing times and still coming through from out of the country.
Right.
And Chris Brown, on his way to being a legend, longtime training partner of Jon Jones, great fighter, fighting for the LFA title. All these are three of our favorite guests. And I think we've, if you take them all, add them together, how many times we've interviewed them here on the show combined, it's going to be in the 20s, probably what, 20,
yeah,
22 times.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah, and this is for the last 6 years. So big thank you to all three men named Chris in order of appearance. Chris, Westside Strangler Brennan, thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate you. Second guest was Chris, BREEZY in the future. Brown, LFA title fight coming up December 9th. Thank you so much, brother. And last but not least, Chris, Lights Out Lytle, BKFC color commentator and MMA legend, UFC 6-time Fight of the Night winner. Chris Lytle, thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. And real quick before I tap out here, seeing Dylan Bowker, the legend himself, another amazing MMA journalist out there.
Yes.
Everybody check him out on his socials when you get a chance. Thanks for swinging on by. And everybody, check out Lith Token. It's LITH token.io. Go ahead and get lit over there. Learn all about physical NFTs and the whole movement that's going there. That it will be the whole new next hype. Believe me, everybody's going to be about it. Everybody's talking Cardano NFTs right now, which is kind of goofy to me. But hey, physical NFTs we go, and we'll be having fun with it. Thank you for the great words there, Bubbo Booey. We will be surprising with guests next week rather than putting it in the title once again. We love you guys showing up just to see who the guests are. What can I say?
Thank you.
Colin, thank you for another amazing episode. Everybody, I am tapping out.
Absolutely. Dr. Adam Rorta, thank you for all you do. All of the people talking here in the chat, Dylan Bowker, Bobo Booey, Peter, John, Ross, Mark, Scappa, thank you all so much. And go out and spread the love in a positive way. Be that guy, be that girl. It'll come back to you 100 times over. Take good care of your pets and give them all the love they need. Fresh water, warm place to sleep in the winter, and fresh food and medical care. It's really important. Be gentle and kind to yourself. You deserve it. You really do, even if you don't think so. That's about it for the entire team at the MMA Power Hour. We'll be catching you next week. But for now, I am tapping out.